Hello, this is Cetriya, Cetriya, and welcome back to another tips and tricks art video. So today I'm going to actually show you quickly a few things here and there, such as drawing feathers, inking blacks, drawing hair, just a quick doodle and showing you how I created and finished this final art piece. So if you have any additional questions or you'd like me to expand on anything that I cover here, feel free to leave a comment below. Alrighty, so let's get quickly into the first section after I have just drawn out just a simple quick sketch to demonstrate what I am working on. Just showing you some of the tools that I use, but honestly, any technical pen that you have, or if you prefer using brush, or even using digital will work, but just showing quickly what I have here, which is the basic micron pens, some Tombow brush pens. Any of these you can pretty much get at any local art store. These are pretty common brands and materials. Or if you prefer, you could also get them in Amazon. So real quickly, I am just doing just some kind of warm-up sketch to kind of warm up my wrists and whatnot. And afterwards, you can see how I am just quickly drawing some feathers. Now, with the feathers, you have the center stem, almost kind of like you're doing a leaf. And then you have the very big chunky part of where all the feather bristles gather apart. And then towards the end of the stem, you have a little bit of filigree shape of the feathers. If you ever looked at a feather, it will look like there's a chunk at the top and kind of a fuzzy little in between. So based on that, it's pretty quickly to just make that general shape. And afterwards, if you want, you can see me here quickly just adding in more crosshatch details to give you the sense that it's feathers. And even here, you can see me doing a quick and fluffy kind of fur type shapes. And again, it's just mostly that once you be able to read it, you'll understand it. So I'm going to go ahead and speed through a little bit of general outlines of this inking process. If you want to know more about inking process, I do have a couple of videos, but this is really pretty fast and loose. So here onto the second section, you can see me just following along the very soft and smooth lines of the hair. Mostly, again, similar like the feathers, I'm drawing in just kind of chunks, almost like waves of the sea, but in this case, it's waves of the hair. And this can vary based on your style, but also the kind of hairstyle that you're working for, or texture, if she's curly hair or straight hair or whatnot, which I probably will make more on specific hairstyles, but this is pretty much the general gist of that, flowy type of hair. Same thing with if you wanted to draw flowy fabric. It's roughly the same, albeit just less lines and hatching. So you can quickly see here where I'm just adding in what would visually be the layering of, when you cut your hair into different length and kind of curl it in, just adding in that visual look to it. And again, I started off with the general outline of the hair and continued on. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and quickly fill out the rest of the sketch illustration. Hopefully you like it. And like I said, it was a pretty quick sketch. And just filling it out, a lot of the blacks and the highlights before we get on to the next section. So just a quick little tidbit right here, which wasn't originally included in this video, but you can see me marking in some of the fill blacks, and that is because I am kind of trying to render a sort of glossy leather look. So first I make out the very strong outlines of the highlights right here in the general shape of the image. And as I'm drawing, sometimes you look at a drawing from afar and be like, okay, I need to add this, add that. And that's why you see me kind of jumping from one part to the canvas to another. I'm kind of trying to give a visual balance between the black. So did more testing of my tools because a lot of my traditional tools have dried out, but yeah, just a quick test. Anyways, I'm going in and you can see like the giant highlight that's on her shoulder, and going in and adding in the fill blacks, but you can see that I kind of did it in like a brush stroke. Now that's actually optional. You can just use a solid shape fill in of black, but that's just personal for me. I find it more dynamic to kind of have the brush strokes go almost in the shape of the object. And again, I'm going in and adding in more accented black lines to make the illustration, more bold and pop. Of course, this illustration will be mostly monochrome and ink, so adding in those thicker black lines mixed in with some thin lines really makes the illustration come alive. Of course, if you were going to go full color, or perhaps you had a different kind of style, you can go lighter. So there's no hard and fast rule about that. It's really just visually balancing. Like you can see the top half of the artwork is light, where the bottom half, where most of her leather art clothes, is that darker shade. So here I'm going in and just kind of like filling in more of the black. You get a sense of what the solid looked like. I decided to opt out and having a little bit less of the brush stroke showing through and really wanted more solid. So let me just go ahead and fill this out here. Now this again is just me going in with a more option. I guess you could say this is like the final little section right here. I decided to go with like a gray marker. And again, just proved that a lot of times I have not been using my traditional media. I'm trying to get through that, but pretend this was tones, but instead of tones, I am using a marker. And it's just something fun, it adds a sort of completion, a little bit more, but it's just enough for like a sketchbook illustration. So I'm just going in with just like a middle gray tone marker. Once the ink is completely dry, you don't want your markers smudging. But yeah, once the ink is completely dry, I'm just going in and adding in some shadows and stuff, just so that way you can really feel like it's a 3D object. Just having fun on that. And again, I know I'm going kind of quickly on how I created this illustration with some quick tips. Usually I can go more in depth, but those would be like total separate videos on their own. So again, if you have any specific questions, feel free to let me know and I'll eventually post it up or add it to the community tab. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and add in some gel highlights. Like I'm going really old school with this. You don't have to do this. You can just leave it as is, but that's, this is when it starts to be like, oh, this is a style preference. But just adding in some highlights to break up some shapes so you can clearly see, such as the gloss in the eyes, the lips, the outline of her dress. Just adding in more, just a bit more rendering, making it looking really pretty and cute, adding in some highlight lines and stuff like that. But yeah, don't ever feel like overly, how should I say, scared to work on or just try things. Because to an extent, this is like in a sketchbook. So if you're not going to experiment in a sketchbook, where else will you experiment? So also did a quick little edit with some areas with the highlights of the whites, and yeah, this is pretty much complete. Right now I'm just enjoying adding in that extra color blue that I had first drawn, the initial drawing. And of course, if you do decide to scan it, it's very easy to drop out the blue, and there's like several YouTube videos on how to drop off the blue. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you find it helpful, and I hope it wasn't too fast for your eyes. All in all, if you do have questions, remember, let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video.